I had my own style. Everything that I done in that boxing ring was original. It's all mine. You know, everything I've done in that ring was original, was made by Pernell Whitaker, was done by Pernell Whitaker, and was designed by Pernell Whitaker only. Nobody else. I copied nobody's style. I have my own. People that want your style, but they can't have it. You know, one of the greatest fighters ever, the best defensive fighter ever, probably. You can't beat Pernell Whitaker. There are no more Pernell Whitakers.
All right, now, what has it been like for you to make that transition from fighter to trainer?
For me, I mean, you know, I'm not a fighter or a trainer. I'm a scientist. You know, I know the science. I know the science of boxing. You know, and I don't have an opinion. I got facts. I mean, you know, I haven't really missed anything. You know, it's good to to be on the other side. You know, and to see someone else go out there and present your style and add it with their own and be successful doing it. You can't beat Pernell Whitaker. There are no more Pernell Whitakers, and I can only teach you the things that work for you and you only, any particular fighter, you know. So if you could forget about me trying to teach you how to be like Pernell Whitaker, because I don't think I can be able to do that. You just got to be your own fighter and just believe and trust in what I tell you.
Looking at today's boxing landscape and some of the stars in boxing today, and you have guys like Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, what do you think of those guys as fighters?
Well, you know, I think I like Pacquiao the best out of all of them, personally, myself. But, you know, he's more consistent as a fighter, you know, fighting, getting in the ring, competing. So, you know, he's the one that stands out.
How do you think that you in your prime would have matched up against somebody like Pacquiao?
I have no clue. Man. I don't know. I haven't watched it that much, but to me, he's still a great fighter. Man, if you ask him whether he could beat me or not, obviously I'm going to say no. They can't beat Pernell Whitaker. There are no more Pernell Whitaker. Put it that way. That's all it is.
Was there any aspect of your game in particular that you think was the best thing you brought to the table?
You guys probably watched me in the past. You guys know every time I stepped out there into that ring, I gave 100%. And every performance I put on showed something different. And whatever it was, whether you guys want me to, you used to call me a showboat. Now you're calling me the best fighter pound for pound. So I have no clue how to satisfy you guys. So you know, not to say that I'm glad to be out of this sport. I'm glad that I did compete and did compete very, very well. And you know, like I say, the things you guys that you guys used to say that called me a showboat, now guys do it, and you think that's the same most popular thing on the planet. So you know, I just can't. I don't know. I just say this for one thing for sure. I had a great time in the boxing room.
Now, Pernell, recently it was announced that Julio Cesar Chavez is getting into the Hall of Fame. What do you think about him as a fighter, being that you fought him?
Who, Chavez? You know, he was a great fighter. He was a great fighter. You know, when I competed against him, it was a big difference. That was one of the good fights of mine. That was one of them, along with the other 50.
You certainly did have a lot of good fights in your career, and the one that I actually saw live first, it was one of the first fights I ever saw you, was against Oscar De La Hoya. My coach brought it up earlier.
Really?
Well, that was the first one that I saw of you, was that fight.
Well, I was having so much fun in that boxing ring that night. You know, Oscar's a good friend of mine, and, you know, it's not personal or anything. It's never personal. I just thought I had done enough to win the fight. I've done a lot more to win than to let it get away from me. And for it to get away from me, you know, that's fine. You know, like I said, it wasn't the first time I ever been in a fight that's been controversial like that. So I don't look back at it. I don't regret anything I've done. You know, people just see it different. Well, another thing is that, you know, guys, people just wanted to see me lose one time. You know, just wanted to see, could nobody, back in my time, nobody could actually outbox me or beat me So, they were just waiting to see somebody get it done, and I don't think nobody. The only person I think that got it done on me, it was just close enough to get away from me was Trinidad. So that's the closest fight I ever had. The rest of them, I think I won.
So now the hardest thing for a fighter to do in his career is to decide to retire. What was it like for you to make that choice back in 2001?
Oh, well, my shoulder jumped out of place for some reason, and that was just a sign, I think, that's coming from above that enough is enough. And when, like I say, I had to stay out for a year after breaking my jaw against Trinidad, so when I decided to come back and tune up after a year layoff, and my shoulder went out, that was enough. That was it. And I thought that was enough, and I think the time had come, and I had no regrets on letting it go. I'm not chasing no glory or anything. I think I've done enough to solidify myself.
Well, Pernell, you fought a lot of great fighters. You had a lot of good fights. Of all the people you faced in the ring, who gave you the toughest match?
The toughest match? Every fight's no tougher than what you make. I try to make fights as easy as possible. I tell guys or show guys how to make these fights as easy as possible. If you want to fight a tough fight, it's easy to fight a tough fight. But if you just want to make a fight as easy as possible, there's a way to do that. So I don't think I've never put myself in a position where I was in a tough fight. All my fights, actually, I thought were very easy and winnable.
And I'm wondering if you could tell the fans out there how you first started being called Sweet Pea.
Oh, well, that's the name that I got when I was about 9 years old. 9 years old, and I was just in the boxing ring, and I had on my boxing shoes Sweet Pea, and they misquoted it. And I had Sweet Pea, and, man, I couldn't get it changed out of the paper, so I just went with it. And ever since then, it stuck. And it stayed with me, and, and I guess it just grew on me. But it started when I was 9 years old. I had my own style. Everything that I done in that boxing ring was original. It's all mine. Everything I've done in that ring was original, was made by Pernell Whitaker, was done by Pernell Whitaker, and was designed by Pernell Whitaker only. Nobody else. I copied nobody's style. I have my own. People that want this style, but you can't have this.
Pernell, how would you ultimately like to be remembered by boxing fans?
I like the way they remember me now. One of the greatest fighters ever, the best defensive fighter ever, probably. I mean, I would say I'm the best defense. I was the best defensive fighter ever. But, if you got somebody that that's better, please, I want to hear somebody tell me a name. Give me a name. Who could be better? You can't beat Pernell Whitaker. There are no more Pernell Whitakers. We all have fun together. Thank you very much.
Okay, everybody, that was the one and only Pernell Whitaker. So I'm going to go over to you, Chauncey Williver. What do you think of Pernell Whitaker fighter and what he did in his career?
Personally, to me, I think Pernell Whitaker, absolutely, bar none, the greatest fighter in the history of boxing. I know a lot of people will say I'm crazy for that, but, you look at what he's done. He beat Jorge Paez, he beat Azuma Nelson, Greg Haugen. Even though it was a draw, he beat a young, near-prime Julio Cesar Chavez. I mean, he didn't just beat these guys. He schooled these guys. He did it easy. He made it look easy, and he let it be known that it was easy by laughing at him and pushing him and things like that. Pernell Whitaker, I think, goes down as definitely should be in everybody's top 10 pound for pound. A lot of people don't give him credit, though, because he was too good. He was so good he was boring. So a lot of people, they don't like giving him credit, for that reason. But for me, absolutely the best. Pernell Whitaker, best fighter ever.